Gay.
No. Working, white. Working.
Pure community love, yeah? All right. Working Action Group.
Working Action Group. Okay, are you ready?
Action Group.
Let's go.
Peace and love, Black family. This is Dr. Umar Johnson. We live and direct, London, England. I'm hanging out with the Working Action Group. Make sure you support and build with the Working Action Group. That's who I'm down with.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Quick interview, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, hi everyone. This is Juliet from Working Action Group. I'm the CEO and I'm here with Dr. Umar. And I would just like to ask Dr. Umar some questions. Firstly, on behalf of Culture, which is the biggest natural black hair blogger in the UK. They're called Culture, and they would like to ask you a question that you're an advocate for natural hair. They want to know what impact will this have on the mental health of the black woman and the black man from your perspective as a psychologist.
It would have a total impact. If black women were to go natural today, the self-esteem of black girls would probably rise 700% by tomorrow. We know within the Dow study that black girls still overwhelmingly choose white Dows as symbols of beauty. A lot of that comes from the fact that so many black mothers are emulating traditional European standards of beauty in the household and in the community. So black girls are able to understand just through observation that their own black mothers have an issue rocking their own nappy natural hair. And so if the black woman were to take the first step to go natural, that would transform the self-esteem, self-concept, and self-worth of black girls across the planet.
Thank you. That question was for Culture. I've got one other question, which is on behalf of our educational department, and it's talking about the feminization of black children, the psychology of gender neutrality, homosexuality, transgender, non-binary, and the effect on the African child. And how do mothers go about ensuring that we educate our children in the right way around this subject?
Well, number one, African parents have to be unapologetically committed to the survival of the black family. It all begins with your love for the black family. If you recognize that the black family is institution number one in our community, anything that comes against that must automatically be considered a nemesis and an enemy. The homosexual agenda, the effeminization agenda, is a population control agenda. That's why they're pushing it not only in the Western Hemisphere, but also in Africa, in Australia, in the Caribbean. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund are canceling grants and loans to African nations who refuse to accept a population control package, which includes homosexuality, lesbianism, transsexualism, abortion, and also sexual gender identity confusion amongst our children. This goes back to 1974. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, in his NSSM 200 memorandum, said that in order for America to deal with the growing black population threat, that we would need to introduce, or they would need to introduce, homosexual lifestyle into the children at a young age, so by the time they became adults, the communities would be powerless to do anything about it.
Thank you. I've just got two last questions very quickly. Homeschooling is growing amongst many of black families in the community, African community. They're taking their children out of the system. What are your thoughts about that?
I support homeschooling, but homeschooling must be done right. Parents need to make sure they fill out the necessary paperwork to homeschool their child. We had a situation in America where a sister's children were taken from her and she was arrested because she homeschooled her children, had the curriculum, the books. She was able to show them her entire system, but she did not fill out the proper paperwork. One piece of paperwork left uncompleted can be the difference between you having your children and you losing your children. But let me say this, I'm an advocate of homeschooling, but homeschooling is a temporary bandage. It is not a solution. Why isn't it a solution? Black children must be educated en masse, systematically, so they can think together, work together, struggle together, live together, die together. You can't do that with 1 million different black children being educated in 1 million different black homes. So although we embrace homeschool, the goal and the solution is to have our own school infrastructure and system where the children can learn together.
And we must support your initiative with regard to black schools. Also, the last question is about Brexit. You're aware of what's been happening here with Brexit.
No, what's that?
That we've left Europe, this country has...
the BRICS.
Okay, this
it
country...
Left.
Yeah, that's right, has left Europe. And obviously there's been an increase in racism, discrimination, and if you like, neo-Nazi groups have now risen in this country. What's your view on reparations, repatriation, and what advice would you give to Africans in Britain?
Well, firstly, I would say that repatriation is a form of self-inflicted reparations. Repatriation is something we need to do to help heal the wounds within. Let's be clear. We are entitled to reparations. We will get reparations, but reparations won't solve black-on-black hate. Reparations won't solve the lack of trust. Reparations won't make the black woman love the black man, and it won't make the black man love the black woman. So although we need those financial reparations and resources, we recognize that most of the repairing that has to be done in-house, in the community, without any money. Most of the healing that we need doesn't cost a dime to do. It takes effort. But we do need the reparations because we need our own banks, we need our own warehouses, we need our own pharmacies, our hospitals, our farmland, we need our own schools. So we definitely need the reparations, but in order to get the reparations, African people in European context have to disidentify from being a black British. We have to disidentify from being a black Canadian, and we have to disidentify from being a black American. As long as you are a subject of a nation, you cannot sue for reparations. Reparations are given to nationalities, and groups of people who recognize themselves as separate, although they live within a larger oppressor nation. So there needs to be a change of identity in order for there to be true reparations. Now let me say this. I have some concerns about reparations. I'm gonna give you three. My first concern for reparations is I don't see all of the guilty parties named in the lawsuit. The Arab nations that participated in the Ma'afa, they have not been named. There's certain British entities, including the Queen of England herself. She has not been named as a guilty party in the reparations debt. And we know Britain colonized, 75% of the African world. So if there's anybody who owes reparations, it's right here, the Queen. So she has to be named as well. And there's a lot of other corporations that have yet to be named in the lawsuit. That's number one. Number two, I have yet to see anybody quantify the psychological cost of the Ma'afa. We see the calculations for unpaid labor, understandable. But what about the calculations of the psychological, emotional, and spiritual damage done to African people, a cost that supersedes any unpaid labor our ancestors were not given on the cotton field? We must quantify the psychological cost of reparations. And number three, I hope we're not only asking for money, because the American dollar isn't worth much, the British pound is worth more. But nonetheless, because the benefit of slavery will never expire to the UK, the benefit of slavery will never expire to the US or to France or to Portugal or to Belgium, because they can never lose the benefit of our dehumanization, we should never be able to lose the reparation that is paid to us for that suffering. So in other words, if they give us $1 trillion, one day that $1 trillion will run out. If they give you a multi-trillion dollars, one day that multi-trillion dollars will run out. So what we are asking for should be assets, resources, control of certain lands and waterways that never expire until the end of time. If we're asking for anything that expires with time, then it's a bad reparations request.
That includes South Africa right now.
Yes, indeed. And to the brothers and sisters in South Africa, we want them to continue struggling. We stand behind them. I'll be going to South Africa June 15th to speak on National Youth Day. I was trying to get the Queen Mother Winnie Mandela's homegoing ceremony. I might not be able to do that, but I will be in South Africa in June. We stand behind them. Here's one thing we need to understand. The European loves putting time limits on justice. As African people, we don't put no time limits on justice. The European loves talking about law and order. As African people, we don't give a damn about law and order until there is justice. Don't talk to me about laws and order until there is justice. And so with the European, they say, since slavery was a couple hundred years ago, we need not compensate for you. They say, since the South Africans stole that land, the white South Africans stole that land a couple hundred years ago, we have no just claim to take it back. What we need the European to understand is we do not believe in the concept of time-limited justice. If you did a wrong to me 5 million years ago, that is a wrong that still has to be paid. Absolutely. And I will treat that debt you owe me as if you just stole the land last night.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Thank you.
You out?
Yeah, we're moving out, people.
Yeah.